I'm Ed Poole.
And I'm Susan Poole. And welcome to another episode of Louisiana Film History Flashback.
In this episode, we're highlighting a film whose story was actually written during the Civil War.
General Ulysses S. Grant of the Union Army was ordered to take Vicksburg in order to open up the Mississippi River. After initially failing, he came up with a plan to cut off the Confederate supplies to Vicksburg.
In 1956, Harold Sinclair took Grant's notes and wrote a novel based on these events entitled Horse Soldiers. In 1959, the novel was turned into a motion picture. Colonel Grierson's name was changed to John Marlowe in the film.
Horse Soldiers, which was filmed on location in Louisiana and Mississippi, was not without its setbacks and tragedies.
The film's producers wanted John Wayne and William Holden to star. However, both stars had to be convinced as there was some doubt that a Civil War motion picture would be successful. As an enticement, each got $750,000 plus a percentage of the film's gross, the highest ever paid for a film role at that time.
But Holden was actually under contract to Paramount Studios, who filed an injunction against him in an attempt to prevent the actor from appearing. A district court later denied the request and cleared the way for Holden to appear in the film.
Segregation was still in effect in the South during the time of the filming. Horse Soldiers marked the feature acting debut of tennis star Althea Gibson, the first black woman to win single championship titles at the French Open, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open. However, since Gibson would have to stay in a separate housing during the shoot, her scenes were shot in Hollywood with doubles used in long shots filmed on location.
The set was also marked with tragedies, including several stunts ending in serious injuries and unfortunately a death, which brought the location filming to an abrupt halt.
So let's flash back to 1959 for the Civil War film, Horse Soldiers. On April 17, 1863, a Union cavalry brigade set out on a 16-day, 600-mile raid through the southern lines of the Confederate territory. It was one of the most daring and remarkable episodes of the Civil War, and according to historians, helped shorten the conflict by as much as a full year, potentially saving 100,000 lives. This historic event is the inspiration for John Ford's 1959 $6.5 million epic, The Horse Soldiers. Loosely based on Harold Sinclair's 1956 novel of the same name, Horse Soldiers follows Colonel Benjamin Grierson, a former Illinois music teacher who led 1,700 men from Memphis, Tennessee, to destroy railroad and supply lines between Newton Station, near Meridian, to Vicksburg, Mississippi. This broke the Confederate hold on the Mississippi River and sped up the end of the war. In the film, Grierson's name is changed to John Marlowe. John Wayne starred as Marlowe and William Holden as a medic attached to Marlowe's group. Newcomer Constance Towers plays a Southern lady whose mansion is commandeered by Marlowe and who is ordered to accompany his troops to Newton Station. The cast also includes Hoot Gibson, the cowboy star of silent films, and professional tennis player and golfer Althea Gibson in her acting debut.
We are a band of brothers and native to the sword, fighting for our liberty with treasure, blood, and toil.
Make way for the new screen adventure from four-time Academy Award winner John Ford, The Horse Soldiers. Make way for the screen's two top stars in their most outstanding roles. John Wayne and William Holden, riding hell-bent for glory in the most daring adventure that ever thundered across the screen. Make way for a rousing adventure story that relives history's most daring Give 'em Hell raid, and the two hellions who rode side by side to lead it. Make way for the Horse Soldiers.
Horse Soldiers was shot almost entirely on location in Louisiana's Cane River country in and around Natchitoches in the fall and winter of 1958. Located in western Louisiana, the 30-mile-long Cane River is formed from a portion of the Red River, a major waterway in the southern United States. Scenes were also filmed at Oakland Plantation, a typical large French Creole plantation home and part of the Cane River Creole National Historical Park, which served as Greenbrier Landing. Interiors were filmed in a nearby plantation house, however, because the plot required a second story, which Oakland lacked. Scenes were also shot in Alexandria and Shreveport in northern Louisiana and in Natchez, Mississippi, where cadets from Jefferson Military College were used as Confederate soldiers. According to the press materials released by the studio, John Ford gave the following reasons for going to Louisiana to film.
The faces are different there than those furnished by Central Casting. There are weeping willows, hard to find on California locales, and there are antebellum homes. But even more important is that so little has changed in the hinterland from the days of the Civil War. An outstanding example were the telephone lines. They are strung exactly as the telegraph lines were strung when Colonel Grierson marched his Union cavalry column through Mississippi to Baton Rouge in one of the most daring military moves of history. No Civil War buff can point to the wires strung along the line of march and say, "It weren't so in the old days," because if he did, he'd only show his ignorance.
Several sets were constructed in the area, including a 290-foot bridge built over the Cane River with a capacity load of 40 tons and a cost of $50,000. It was built to match bridge designs of the late 19th century and was destroyed by dynamite at the climactic end of the film. After weeks of research, an exact replica of Newton Station, Mississippi was also constructed on the levee alongside the Cane River. It was built to look just as it did on Saturday, April the 25th, 1863, when the Union cavalrymen destroyed 2 trains, a huge store of supplies, telegraph lines, and all railroad and supply equipment. The elaborate set was then burned down to the ground in a pivotal scene, which did not go off exactly as planned. As the cameras rolled for the fiery scene and the 300-man cavalry unit came storming in across the field, a sightseeing plane appeared in the sky above. Although cameraman Bill Clothier was able to keep the plane out of most of the sequence, the soundtrack was lost due to the plane's motor. The sound had to be dubbed in the studio. In early December 1958, near the end of the shoot in Natchitoches, Fred Kennedy, a 48-year-old veteran Hollywood stuntman, executed a fall from a horse improperly, broke his neck, and died. According to fellow stuntmen, Kennedy had broken his neck 2 years earlier, but it had healed. Kennedy had appeared in several films directed by Ford, and the director was greatly affected by Kennedy's death. After the incident, which according to reports was the 4th accident on the set, Ford halted filming and immediately moved production back to California. The other incidences involved people suffering broken legs, including Ford's son Patrick. The world premiere of The Horse Soldiers was a large 2-day event. On Wednesday, June the 17th, 1959, the first showing of the film was held at the Strand Theater in Shreveport. The star-studded event included the film's leading men, John Wayne and William Holden, in attendance. The next day, Wayne and Holden and the rest of the dignitaries flew to New Orleans for a second premiere at the Sanger. It was preceded by a parade and stage appearance by the film stars. Horse Soldiers was released nationwide on June the 26th and an international release at varying times during 1959. This has been a presentation of Hollywood on the Bayou, preserving Louisiana's rich film history with books, prints, presentations, and exhibits. If you have questions, comments, or to learn more, you can visit our Facebook page or sign up for our Louisiana in Film newsletter, which is on our website, HollywoodOnTheBayou.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Louisiana Film History Flashback. Sue and I thank you, and we'll see you next time.